Hi, I'm Lauren Tobin. I'm an English teacher at Milwaukee High School of the Arts, and this video is to show how to integrate Doctopus and Goobric with Google Classroom. I like these programs because they help students see why they received the score they received and helps teachers grade efficiently and paperlessly. The Google Classroom portion is used to make sure that documents are shared properly so teachers can edit student work. Doctopus is used to ingest the assignment into a spreadsheet and keep it organized. And Goobric is then used to attach a rubric digitally into the document of the student. The first thing that you will need is to make sure that you have the Goobric extension and the Doctopus add-on. And those can be handled right up here. So for the add-ons, I have already got it, but you can go down to Get Add-ons and click there. And then you'll be able to, from here, search for Doctopus. It usually pops up really close. Oh, there it is. It's got the beautiful little Doctopus on there. You click that. Mine says Manage because I've already downloaded it, but you'd click Add and it would go right on. So once you do that, then you'll need to go to the Chrome Web Store. If you're on a Chromebook, there's the search button that looks like a magnifying glass, and you can either click that and it'll pop up, or that will pop up, and you can hit Chrome Web Store right there. I already have the window up, so we'll just look at that. And then you're under Extensions, and you can just search for Goobric. Again, I've added it, so I just have rate it, but you'll want to make sure that you add that. I've also added Goobric for students, but I'm still playing with that one. Once you have the add-on and the extension in your Google apps, then you're going to want to make sure that you have a rubric put into Google Sheets. So a blank sheet looks like this. I have one of my sheets up. Then you'll have your scoring up here, your standards down the side, and the criteria in the middle. Now, I know it looks totally unusable, and it is for actual humans, but the programs use it beautifully. I do keep this in a Google Doc, so I can attach it to assignments so students can read it, so they can, as they're writing it, always go back and compare to the rubric. So once that's done, you can close it out, and you never have to look at it again, which is a beautiful thing, except that in a readable form, but never in that form again. And then you will be, the other thing that you need is to make sure that you have assignments in Google Classroom. So this is one of my classes. We have an assignment that still needs to be scored. So I will go enter that assignment. I am going to pull all of them. You can pull just the ones that are done, but since this is a draft, they're not all going to click done. Some of them did, some of them didn't. You don't actually need to do it from here. We'll actually do it from... Now that we have all the necessary components in place, we can start pulling from Google Classroom and scoring our work. So the first thing I do before I do anything else is I make sure I name my assignment, because I will forget later. So I have the class name, what the assignment is, and then the hour somewhere in the title so I can find it. So the next thing that you're going to do is launch Doctopus. And here it goes. You will want to select a mode. They have two. I haven't distributed anything via the roster because Google Classroom pretty much takes care of that now. So ingesting a classroom assignment, it'll then prompt you for which class you'd like to pull. And then you'll select your assignment. Oop, there it is. I try to name this spreadsheet as close to the actual assignment name as possible, and then add on the hour. It makes things a lot smoother. I apologize for the downtime as it's working. You can suggest only or choose things that are only turned in. However, I'm going to ingest them all as it is a draft, and then I will correct them and send them back before they have to do their final, so they can see what they would score if they didn't. So we'll be ingesting. You can add a co-teacher to this too, which is really great for co-taught classes, or if anybody else needs to see the spreadsheet and has an MPS email, you can share it with them. But it's been really nice with my co-teachers. So we can see that it is populating. Here's a link to the actual document. It's saying its status, if it's turned in or not turned in, and the last time that the student has edited the document. So you will notice once in a while some students will have it turned in twice, or they'll have two documents in there. So one's turned in, one's not turned in for the student. You do have the ability also to send back send feedback emails, which I do, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. So you can always look for new submissions after you return work for the authentic writing process. I found it to be very helpful. But before we do any of that, we're going to attach a Goobric, which is your digital rubric. So I already have mine in Sheets, which makes it really easy. It gets a little wonky to search for it, but it's not too terrible. But once it's made and you use it for there, and you can just pull up over and over again. So if you use like the ACT one, you'll be able to pull that quite a bit. So there it is. You can allow self or peer assessment. One of my students figured this out before I did. So I have to talk to her and see how she got that. But they can see the rubric, and they do send a notification to students. However, the MPS email that gets recorded is not the one that they receive mail to. I don't know if I'm explaining that totally right, but that's the way I understand it. Their outgoing and incoming email addresses are different or function differently. It does take a minute because it is sending quite a few tagging student files, but it's never more than about 2 minutes tops, however big your classes are, or if you have a co-teacher. So now the Goobric is attached. So we have student names, their key file, and their email addresses. So again, before I go scoring, I'm going to go to Edit, Find and Replace. With the incoming one. So when I send them their feedback email, they'll actually get it in their student email. Now, anytime you refresh, it will kind of knock out the @student.milwaukee.k12.wi.us email that you put in there. But this is an easy process, so if you have to do it again, it's no big deal. So we replaced all, we are done. And from here, so this is all pretty much done. You can always refresh counts and edit, so it tells you when the last time it was edited. It will display average scores if you want. You can always, if you realize you put the wrong Goobric on there, you can always change it. But I'm going to X this out just to see. So we will click a Goobric link, and up here it'll open a new tab. And then it'll load the document on half the window and the rubric on the top half of the window. You also have the ability then to record scoring a voiceover to. I've never used it just because too many things sometimes. You can make this go away or minimize it by using this button. I like having it here. It was a little weird at first to get used to grading it at half a sheet at a time, but it worked out okay. So all these tabs are my standards. And as I'm scoring, I can just click whatever proficiency level they are. I can put my holistic comments over here. If I need to jump to a specific student, I can do so over here. It's still loading a little bit. And you have a couple of options underneath the editor as well. You can, I have auto advance on submit, which is nice. So once I finish scoring the student's work, we can go in, it'll just go right to the next one. So it moves through your pile for you. Another thing I like to do is change from editing to suggesting. So if I need to make any grammatical comments in here, it'll record it as a comment on the side. The students are not able to see my comments until they are the owner, and likewise, when I return it to them, I can no longer see the comments I left for them. You can always go back and look at previous versions in everything is saved in versions on Google Drive, so you can always go back and look at previous ones. I'm going to close out of here right now because I'm not going to finish scoring, but I can go back and change this. Since I didn't hit submit, this won't save until you hit submit, but these down here will. Once you finish grading an assignment, your sheets will look something like this. Again, the second sheet, the first sheet is blank, but the second sheet is kind of your working document in which you have your links to both the doc itself, but where you can assess it with the Goobric. And then the third sheet is the one I find very helpful, where you can quick and easy see who earned what scores on what standards or through your rubric criteria. So that would be really helpful. Once that's done, you can go back, really from anywhere, go back to Doctopus add-ons, hit open. Students who've already launched it on this doc, you just hit open. I always like to then send a feedback email to my students. And since I have the correct incoming student email on here, I'll know that they'll receive them. So we can send feedback email. It might take a couple minutes, but just because I have so many in there. It already has a forum email, and I always put grades will be updated in IC soon. As that's not part of the forum, but I like to put that on there. That's my student teacher and myself, and we'll send emails. I always remind my students that it is their responsibility to check their emails frequently, and then we've had tutorials on how to check your MPS email, and I try to make some time for them to do that here and there, around once a week, once every 2 weeks, so they can always make sure that they're checking not just for my class, but for others as well. Once this is all done, this document's pretty much done. You can put your scores into Infinite Campus and then go back to Google Classroom because they won't be able to see the comments on there. As you can see, I've already returned these, but the students will then have the rubric, which I can see, attached to the bottom of their page, which is nice. So they don't have to look at a different spot. They don't have to click back and forth. It's right there on their document. They additionally get to see whatever comments were on there. So to return a document in Google Classroom is pretty terrific. I always hit done, or even all if it's something like this, but usually done is the only one you need to return. Since they are already done, it might not be working as well. You'll just click, hit return. You usually get prompted to add a comment, and I'll always say something like, rubrics are attached, please see email for comments, or rubrics and comments are attached, please adjust and resubmit, whatever it is. And that way they are back to ownership and you are done. Thank you very much.